across the table. It was simple, elegant, and embossed with a small, faint emblem, SIA. The moment the captain saw it, his throat tightened. The officers were still clueless. But Daniel saw the exact moment the realization struck Captain Brooks. They had just arrested the wrong man. Cooper scoffed, trying to save face. You expect us to believe you're some kind of James Bond? Daniel's lips curled into a knowing smile. You'll find out soon enough. And they did. Within the hour, higher-ups were calling. Emails were flying. Daniel's superiors weren't just aware of the situation. They were watching. And as the truth began to unravel, the officer's arrogance turned to fear. But it was too late. The damage was done. News of Daniel's wrongful arrest exploded. Videos taken by bystanders went viral. Hashtags flooded social media. Hashtag justice for Daniel. Hashtag profiling exposed. Hashtag the agent wrongly arrested by the time the case made it to court. The country was watching. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, activists, even politicians. Daniel walked in, dressed sharply, his calm dignity unwavering. He wasn't a defendant. He was the key witness for the prosecution. And the moment he took the stand, the officers knew they were finished. One by one, his superiors testified. They confirmed his high-ranking position in the CIA. They carefully omitted classified details, but what they shared was enough. Words like covert operations and national security left the courtroom stunned. This was not just any man. This was a hero. Then came the final blow. The prosecutor played the recording. The hidden recording Daniel had been running from the moment the officers approached him. The courtroom fell silent as the officers' voices filled the room. Their mocking tone, their baseless accusations, their bias. With every word, their defense crumbled. And then came the moment that would be replayed on news stations for weeks. The prosecutor turned to Daniel. Mr. Carter, why didn't you reveal your identity immediately? Daniel's response was calm, measured, powerful, because it shouldn't matter. A hush fell over the courtroom. Daniel continued, I shouldn't need to be a CIA agent to be treated with basic respect. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. True. The jury deliberated for barely an hour. The verdict? Guilty. Cooper and Turner were convicted on charges of misconduct and abuse of authority. They were dismissed from the force. Their careers? Over. As Daniel exited the courthouse, reporters swarmed. One called out, Mr. Carter, do you have any comments on today's outcome? Daniel paused. Then he said something that would be quoted for years to come. This isn't just about me. It's about every person who's been judged unfairly because of their skin color. I hope this case serves as a reminder of the work we still need to do. And then he walked away. The fight wasn't over. Justice had been served, but the battle, that was just beginning. Epilogue later that night. In the solitude of his apartment, Daniel sat in silence. The world had changed, if only slightly. The officers had paid for their prejudice. But countless others never saw justice. And so, he made a decision. He wouldn't just walk away. He would fight for those who couldn't, for those who never got the chance. And the next time someone like him was falsely accused, he'd make sure they wouldn't have to face it alone. A crisp evening breeze drifted through the streets of downtown Atlanta, carrying the scent of street food and fresh rain on the pavement. The city hummed with life, headlights flashing, distant sirens wailing, and the murmur of conversations blending into the urban symphony. Daniel Carter adjusted the cuffs of his navy blazer as he stepped out of his sleek black sedan, the car's glossy surface reflecting the glow of neon lights from a nearby electronics store. His tailored slacks and Italian leather loafers spoke of quiet sophistication, but his demeanor carried something deeper, a presence, an air control that only a few in his line of work ever truly mastered. Inside the store, the bright LED displays showcased the latest in cutting-edge technology, wireless earbuds, VR headsets, and sleek smartphones with screens that folded like paper. Daniel's sharp eyes skimmed the shelves, scanning the room more out of habit than necessity. Years spent in the field had wired his instincts to detect even the slightest disturbances in his surroundings. But tonight, he wasn't on a mission. Tonight, he was just a man trying to enjoy a rare moment of normalcy. After selecting a premium set of wireless earbuds, he made his way to the register. handing over his black credit card with the ease of someone accustomed to transactions of a much higher stake. The cashier, a young woman barely in her 20s, processed a payment with a polite nod before sliding the bag across the counter. "Enjoy your evening, sir," she said with a courteous smile. Daniel returned the gesture, stepping out of the store, the small bag swinging lightly in his grip. Across the street, Officers Ryan Cooper and Adam Turner sat in their patrol car, watching him closely. "He's got the look," Turner muttered, adjusting his grip on the steering wheel. Cooper narrowed his eyes. "Which look?" "You know." Cooper did know. The dark skin, the tailored clothes, the effortless confidence. Something about it put them on edge. The area had seen a recent spike in thefts, and to them, Daniel's expensive taste didn't align with their assumptions about who belonged in this part of town. The two exchanged a glance, unspoken agreement passing between them. As Daniel reached his car and unlocked it with a subtle press of his key fob, the sharp call of a voice made him pause. "Excuse me, sir." Daniel turned slowly, his face calm, unreadable. The weight of the small shopping bag fell heavier in his hand as he met the gaze of the approaching officers. "Yes, officer?" His voice was even, controlled. Cooper took the lead, stepping forward with calculated authority. "We've had reports of recent thefts in the area. Mind telling us what's in the bag?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "A pair of earbuds. I just bought them." Turner circled behind him, a move Daniel noted but chose not to acknowledge. He had dealt with men like them before, both in the field and at home. Cooper held out a hand. "Mind if we see a receipt?" Daniel exhaled, slowly. "It's in the bag." Cooper took the bag, his fingers brushing against Daniel's in a way that wasn't necessary, a silent assertion of dominance. He pulled out the small receipt, eyes scanning it before glancing back up. "What's your ID say?" Daniel's grip tightened for a fraction of a second before he retrieved his wallet, flipping it open. His driver's license was there, crisp and well-kept. Cooper took it, scanning the name. "Daniel Carter." "That you?" Daniel kept his gaze steady. "That's what it says, doesn't it?" Turner snorted, stepping closer. "That's a lot of cash in there," he noted, eyeing the neatly stacked bills inside Daniel's wallet. Daniel's jaw tensed. "It's my money." Cooper exchanged another glance with Turner. Their suspicion didn't waver. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step away from the vehicle," Cooper said, his voice firm. Daniel remained still, weighing his options. He could comply, make this easy. Or he could push back, demand to know why they were treating him like a suspect. But he knew how these situations played out. Slowly, he took a step back. That wasn't enough. Cooper grabbed his arm. "What the hell are you doing?" Daniel asked, his voice sharp. "You're resisting," Turner snapped. Before Daniel could argue, he was spun around, his chest pressed against the hood of his car. The cold metal of handcuffs snapped around his wrists. Around them, people stopped. Phones came out. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder. And Daniel Carter, CIA operative, veteran of some of the most dangerous covert missions in the world, stood there, his hands bound, his body tense. The irony wasn't lost on him. Neither was the humiliation. He wasn't afraid. He'd faced worse than this. But he was angry, and somewhere deep inside he knew this was far from over. The ride to the precinct was silent, save for the hum of the patrol car's engine and the occasional crackle of the radio. Daniel sat in the back seat, his wrists still bound, his expression unreadable. His mind was calculating, assessing, remembering every detail, body language, vocal tone, inconsistencies. By the time they reached the precinct, the gravity of the situation was sinking in. Not for Daniel. He already knew how this would end, but for Officers Cooper and Turner, who were about to learn a lesson they wouldn't soon forget. Inside, under the glare of fluorescent lights, Daniel was placed in a small, gray interrogation room. The metal chair beneath him was cold, the table in front of him scratched and worn from years of abuse. His posture remained relaxed, unshaken by the treatment he had endured. Turner threw Daniel's wallet onto the table, letting the stack of cash spill out. "Where'd you get that money?" "Huh?" He sneered. Daniel met his gaze with calm amusement. "It's called a paycheck," he replied. "You should try it sometime." Cooper bristled. "Think you're funny, do you?" "I think I like my phone call." They ignored him. Cooper pulled out Daniel's ID. flipping it between his fingers. "Let's see who you really are." He stepped out, leaving Turner behind to glare at Daniel. The tension in the room was thick. Then, minutes later, Cooper returned. His face was pale. Something was wrong. Or, rather, something was very right. For Daniel. Cooper leaned toward Turner, his voice low but urgent. His profiles flagged. "High clearance or something." Turner frowned. What the hell does that mean? Before Cooper could respond, the door burst open. Captain Brooks stepped in, his expression one of barely controlled irritation. "Carter," he said, his tone suddenly very different from the officers. It was no longer aggressive, no longer accusing. It was almost deferential. Daniel leaned back, watching them with knowing eyes. "Captain," he greeted smoothly. Brooks exhaled sharply. "You've got some explaining to do." Daniel smirked. "Actually, I think you do." With that, he slid a sleek black card.